This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome back everyone to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. This is our special Fight the Future Minute podcast. I'm Tony Black, your host, and you are listening to our coverage of minute 76 of the X-Files Fight the Future. This minute begins at 1 hour 15 minutes precisely as an ambulance man says to Mulder, "A virus," and ends on 1 hour 15 minutes and 59 seconds precisely with an unmarked plane preparing for takeoff. And to discuss this minute, I've got a not a brand new guest to Fight the Future Minute, but certainly someone I've never recorded with before, so this is very exciting. I'm with guest and X-Cast patron, Luke Winch. Luke, it's great to talk to you.
Hi, Tony. It's great to podcast with you at last.
Yeah, you've been a patron. I mean, this is going out significantly ahead of when we're recording. We're recording in July of 2019, and it's probably going to be around July 2020 when people are listening to this. So we're a year ahead of you guys. But so there's every chance you may have heard us together on podcasts since. But this is the first time we have recorded. So I always like it when we record. I record with new people. It's just, especially someone with a big X-Files love like yourself. So I'm glad you're on board doing this. Yeah,
excellent. I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. Obviously, you were on towards the beginning of the Fight the Future Minute, actually. So you will have been asked about what you thought of Fight the Future and stuff. So we'll just get straight into the meat of this one, and we're kind of picking up right in the middle of a scene. So normally with these episodes, we try and start someone, new guests and things like that in the middle of not in the middle of a scene, at the end of the scene. So you're sort of taking over this time, and we're right in the middle at the end of the kiss, the big smoochy moment. Scully's obviously been infected by the bee, and she's in trouble, and she's being bundled out into an ambulance filmed on a street near where they filmed Kurzweil's home earlier in the film. The external shots of that. So they're operating in the same area, I think, and filming on the same kind of day. And obviously, this is a bit of a shocker because it all seems normal. It all seems Scully's in trouble, gets bundled into the back of an ambulance, off she goes to hospital, etc. And then bam, Mulder takes one in the head. It looks like. I mean, was that a shock to you? Because when I first watched that, I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, I mean, the first time I watched it, which would have been at the cinema, yeah, that was quite a shocker because up until that point, everything seems, it's an urgent scene, and the paramedics look legit, and they're bundling Scully into the back of the ambulance, and then when he gets to the driver's seat, he's given the kind of face that says, "I'm not an ambulance driver," and then probably aims a gun and shoots him.
Yeah, he doesn't look the nicest guy, does he? This fella, he
doesn't.
Sort of, what hospital? What hospital? He just looks at him like, we ain't going to a hospital, man. That's not happening. But I don't know about you. This reminded me of, weirdly, of like the Erlenmeyer flask when Deep Throat gets shot by the crew cut man, and because he's in a van, isn't he? And then he just pulls out. Well, he's outside the van, isn't he, at this point? But then he drives past in that van, drives past Mulder. It just gave me a flashback of that, strangely.
Absolutely, and the driver of the paramedics van has his own name, which is Black Haired Man.
Is that the same? Is that guy? Is it the Black Haired Man guy?
Yes, it's Black Haired Man. I'm pretty sure it is because he pops up in the end and on Ami as well.
He does, yeah.
So and I think Mulder also bumps into him just before he goes into the vending room when he gets locked in with the bomb as well.
He does. That's true. Actually, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. So he's sort of in the background, isn't he, throughout this?
Yeah, he's kind of looming in the shadow, and just kind of think. But it kind of begs the question: if he's an operative of Cigarette Smoking Man, did he mean to kill Mulder, or did he intentionally miss? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? Because all through this, I mean, it's one of those things with this film. I mean, if you think of it with what happens to Scully, and that she obviously gets taken away, and had Mulder not gone and found her in that ship, she would have been killed. She would have died because that EBE would have birthed out inside her. So they were quite happy to kill Scully off. But then you've got the whole sequence with the Syndicate in which they talk about how, you've got the idea that Mulder, you've got to be careful about killing off Mulder because, they say, don't they, kill Mulder, you turn one man's quest into a crusade. They say that earlier in the film, and it's something that has been... The Well-Manicured Man says that, and it was said, I think, by the Smoking Man before in the TV series. So, you can understand... Them taking away Scully was supposedly supposed to be the way to stop Mulder in his tracks. So to then shoot him, that seems like counterproductive. It could be the Smoking Man, couldn't it, though? Just being typically Smoking Man and just ignoring what they say and doing what he wants.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, maybe he did say shoot him in the face. He likes shooting his kids in the face, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I'd not thought of that, though, whether he intentionally missed or not. It's a good thought. You assume that he meant to kill him because he's a Syndicate operative, but maybe he didn't. Maybe he did just try and wound him and knock him off the scent, or I don't know.
Or maybe the Syndicate needs to hire more efficient assassins.
Well, we know that after Krychek, and Luis Cardinal and all these clowns who never seem to get anything right. So absolutely, yeah. Smoking Man definitely needs to... His recruitment methods are terrible. Like, where does he get these people, new
interview techniques are needed, required.
Yeah, for sure. Well-Manicured Man's assassins always seem a little bit more, good. They always seem, on the whole, a bit more sharp and a bit more on it.
Yeah, a bit more disciplined.
Yeah, whereas Smoking Man seems to just hire the rednecks he finds in a bar, and just goes, yeah, do you want to come work for me? Yeah. But maybe this whole scene is a consequence of how they change things, because originally it was supposed to be Mulder was supposed to, whether he gets shot or not, he was supposed to get up and give chase in the ambulance the real ambulance that you then see on approach once the fake one's gone, and the shot fades out, doesn't it, as you see that ambulance coming, and he was supposed to just get up and jump in the ambulance and go after them and stuff like that, which would have been, a car chase or an ambulance chase. And I don't know about you, Luke. I think that's a scene from another film for me. I don't know if that would have worked for this. Yeah,
I don't think it would have. I think that the short sequence with the gunshot works really well. It's very effective. It's very shocking, and it doesn't seem like Mulder to kind of pull a driver out of the front of the ambulance and then take chase.
It's the whole thing about how he's not an action hero, and I think we've talked about this before on Fight the Future Minute, and I think we've certainly talked about it on the X-Cast about how Mulder's, he's not a conventional action hero. So to have him jump in an ambulance and give chase, it feels like the sort of thing you get, I don't know, Bond or Jason Bourne do, or someone like that, but not Fox Mulder. It makes more sense for him to get shot, nearly die, and then wake up with his 3 geek mates, which is what we see.
Definitely. That's definitely more Mulder.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I mean, it would have taken them ages. I think they had to cut it for budgetary reasons. But, trying to wait, it was already a production up to the wire. It would have taken ages to film that. So
yeah, I mean, they only had 45 days of principal photography, so that, a massive car chase would have been logistically a lot to do. Yeah,
it would have been a lot, really. And and what would it really have achieved? Because they'd have still had to get away, wouldn't they? They would have still ultimately gone to the plane and
it wouldn't have achieved anything plot wise, would it? It would have just been empty action just to fill space, just
to do that. And you're like, well, it's like, yeah, okay, it's a movie, it's bigger, it's supposed to be more epic, but you can't. It's funny though, because in a way you'd think that's the sort of notes they'd be getting from the studio, wouldn't it? Like, oh, put more car chases in, put more explosions in. Have Mulder run around with a gun. People have made the comment that he doesn't really use a gun in this film. Very rarely, I think, does he use a gun in this film. So that's again another example of how he's not a gun-toting, agent running around. So yeah, I think they went with the right choice with the shock bang thing.
Definitely.
And off goes Scully toward the plane that I mentioned briefly before, the unmarked plane, which was filmed at LAX in Los Angeles. Which, have you ever been to LA, Luke?
I've not. No, I've been intending to go to America for quite a while. I just, I'm not a good flyer, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I usually go to Europe or the Mediterranean because it's like a 3 or 4 hour flight, which I'm okay with. But I'm going to have to brave the airwaves a bit longer, I think, to go to America.
Well, I went nearly 10 years ago, and I went on a road trip, and we had to fly to Texas, and then a friend of mine flew back from LAX, and I went to LAX briefly to the outside bit of it, and my friend flew back, but then we got trapped by a volcano, which meant we couldn't fly. I mean, I don't know if you remember, it was called Edgefaluki.
Yes.
It went up in 2010, it went up. I may have told this story before on this podcast, so if I'm boring people with the same stories, it just shows I've been doing this too long now, and I'm getting older, you know. But yeah, it went off, and all the ash in the air particles meant we couldn't travel for a while, so, you know, air traffic was grounded, so we were stuck in Texas, which was terrible, obviously, awful. We had to spend more holiday money and go to Dallas and all the awful time.
That's just terrible.
It's terrible, you know, pity us. But yeah, my friend just got out before it went off, and he flew from LAX, so he escaped all the fun. But they said that you can't film at LAX anymore because they were talking about how it cost a lot of money to do that. But after 9/11, they don't let you film in airports now, or they don't let you film in LAX. So
that kind of makes sense.
It does make sense,
yeah.
I suppose. But it's another one of those ways that X-Files kind of links into 9/11, because there's quite a few like points where it's sort of, well, for one thing, you got the bombing in this film, so you've got like a terrorist bombing, and then later you've got the whole, do you know the story, the spooky thing about the lone gunman pilot?
No, I don't.
Well, we will do a lone gunman podcast one day, but the spooky thing about the lone gunman pilot is that the pilot for the lone gunman is about a plane crashing into the Twin Towers, and it aired a year before 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah. I know.
Okay, that's yeah.
There's
weird.
an X-File. I know. It's really, really strange. So it's going to be one of those things, when you analyse it, it's going to be a lot to talk about, really. But yeah, so that's kind of where this one ends. I mean, it's kind of a set of, the next few sort of minutes are quite sort of scene setting, aren't they, really? It's more about, until we get to the hospital, I suppose it's more about putting certain plot pieces into place, you know? And I suppose that's the case with this minute altogether.
Yeah, the little short, sharp scenes of exposition, you know, either dialogue exposition or action exposition. Yeah.
So it's kind of just, you know, keeping things ticking over. I suppose it's the thing of coming at the end. Like I said, it's at the end of a bigger scene, so it's sort of just transitioning into the next one, really. But we'll call it a day there, because I think we've covered everything we need to in this minute, really. So what we'll do is we will come back when we'll talk more about the plane and Scully's impending adventure. So thanks, Luke. You'll be back for minute 77.
I will.
With me, fantastic. And that wraps up our latest Fight the Future minute. So, as always, thanks for listening, everyone. And remember, trust no one.
Elsewhere on We Made This. Pick a disc.
I think some songs also have like all those like interludes with like samples and spoken word as well. It kind of fits into like the shambolic, but in a good way, nature of it.
Yeah, I like the fact that no song ever really ends as such. They're all just like the guitars stop and then there's a little bit of electronics that kind of lull you through into the next track and stuff like that. I like it's an organic thing, isn't it? It's kind of like a DJ set where the dude is just obsessed with the one band and he keeps circling back to it.
Pull or pass?
I think it would be really weird if they tried to make the Fantastic Four something that had been around, but they didn't get involved in the Infinity War, you know?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think post-Infinity War, it kind of becomes curious how you introduce heroes in a long-standing, like if they were always meant to be there capacity. But
yeah, and unless they have a film set in the 60s and they kill them off. I mean, they could do that, couldn't they?
Without a mouse.
When me and my wife got married in 2015, we booked our honeymoon to California and went to Disneyland in California. As soon as we decided we were going to do that. I'd always wanted to go there, but mainly for the rides, not for the Disney side of things so much.
Yeah.
And I started watching loads of... I mean, I know I've heard you mention before, like the Disney food blog, YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I will sit there when I'm bored. I'm either watching synthesizer demos, random music videos, or stuff about what food not to eat in Walt Disney World, which I've never been to, and I'm not that likely to go to in the near future.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.